Good afternoon, everyone. So, some time ago, I asked a few of your students what topic do you want to discuss, and they said pot spine. So, the term pot spine was given by Percival Pot. What is the cause? The cause is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is a which is an aerobic and gram-positive bacteria, and it is also acid-fast positive, as you all know. And this acid fastness is due to the mycolic acid. There is mycolic acid content in the cell wall, due to which there is acid fastness. Other species which are acid fast include Nocardia, Legionella, Cryptosporidia. So, why are certain antibiotics ineffective in case of Mycobacterium tuberculosis? Because the thick cell wall has cross linkage between certain lipids and the mycolic acid, which makes it less porous, due to which antibiotics are ineffective. Certain antibiotics are ineffective. Now, any patient coming with infection of tuberculosis, whether it is pulmonary or extrapulmonary, there are certain predisposing factors, which includes malnutrition, poor sanitization, overcrowding, close contact with the other TB patients, and immunodeficiency states. Now, the extrapulmonary TB, it most commonly we see in lymph nodes, followed by pleura, followed by the genitourinary tract, which is followed by bones and joints. In the bones and joints, almost 50% is seen in the vertebrae. Now, the pathology. The osteoarticular lesions, they result from the hematogenous spread, either through the arteries or through the veins, in which the most common is Batson's paravertebral venous plexus. This spread is from the primary focus, which may be apparent or may be hidden or quiescent. The most common presentation of pot spine is seen in the first 3 decades of life, and the male to female ratio is equal. There is no predisposition in the sexes. What are the signs and symptoms? The patient may come to you in the active stage or the healed stage. If the patient comes in the active stage, first of all, you'll see the constitutional symptoms of the tuberculosis, which may include malaise, weight loss, night sweats, loss of appetite, and evening rise of temperature. The patient will, in the active stage, after the patient will complain of, the patient will have the constitutional symptoms, and the patient will complain of back pain. The patient might complain of stiffness in the spine due to the paravertebral muscle spasm. Understood? The patient will complain of night cries. Now, why are there night cries in pot spine? You see, as the structures involved in the pot spine are protected by the reactionary muscle spasm, and in the day, when the patient goes to sleep, this muscle spasm is released, and there is a movement of the structures which are involved, and the patient will complain of pain. In the language of the patient will say कि सोने के बाद मेरे को दर्द के वजह से नींद खुल जाती है. This is characteristic of night cries in pot spine. Why? Because जो भी structures protected थे due to the reactionary muscle spasm, after sleeping, spasm was released and the structures moved, and the patient complained of pain. We will see formation of cold abscesses and later on paraplegia. Now, cold abscesses, because cold abscesses have a certain path of flowing. The cold abscesses are first of all formed due to the gravitational pull of the pus, and they follow a certain path always. Why? Because there are certain enzymes in the which are formed by the mycobacterium, which can digest other cells, but they cannot digest the fascia. So the pus always travels along the facial planes. So if there is cervical or dorsal If there is a primary focus is above, the cold abscess we might see in the anterior cervical triangles, the intercostal spaces from the middle of the axilla and even anterior, and the paraspinal regions. If we check on the X-ray, it may show a characteristic bird nest appearance as the pus, which is like the bird nest is like the inverted C shape, as the pus is collected downwards. And if there is pathology in the dorsolumbar or lumbar region of the spine, the cold abscess can travel anywhere. Most commonly, it follows the psoas sheath, and there is a collection in the iliac fossa. How is that checked? We palpate the iliac fossa. From the iliac crest, we palpate inside, and we can palpate the abscess. It can also follow lumbar triangle. It can go just beneath the inguinal ligament, and sometimes it can go as below as the knee joint. In the popliteal fossa, we have to check. And what are some other causes causing cold abscess? They can also be seen in fungal infections, actinomycosis, and even in leprosy. Now, this was the active stage. The second is the healed stage. In the healed stage, the constitutional or the systemic symptoms are absent, but the deformity, if present, will persist. Like the kyphotic deformity, if present, will persist. The deformity can be of three types, which will be seen in the active stage first. It may be the kyphotic deformity is divided into three types. There is knuckle deformity, in which only one vertebrae is involved. If two or three vertebrae are involved, it is known as angular or gibbous deformity. If more than three are involved, the deformity is called round or kyphus deformity. Is it clear to anyone? Everyone? If one vertebrae is involved, it is knuckle deformity. If two or three vertebrae are involved, it is angular or gibbous deformity. And if more than three, it is known as kyphus or round deformity. So, as I said, in the healed stage, the systemic features will be absent, but the deformity will still persist. ESR, which is raised in the active stage, will fall back in the healed stage. And radiologically, we'll see the signs of bone healing. But we'll see is the decrease in the soft tissue shadow, the return of the normal density of the bone, and bony ankylosis. Okay? So, the abscess which we'll see contains the serum, the leukocytes, caseous material, debris from the bone, and the tubercular bacilli. So, what are the clinical features which the patient will present with? Patient will present with a swelling. The swelling will be painless, insidious in onset, soft or smooth. The consistency will be cystic. Fluctuation will be positive, and slip sign will be negative. Can anybody tell me when will the slip sign be positive? Or what is slip sign? So, slip sign is if a swelling we press with the help of a finger, it slips down from the finger. It is known as slip sign. It is different from fluctuation. Slip sign will be present if there is lipoma, and here fluctuation will be present, and slip sign will be negative. And any sinus or ulcer may be present, or healed sinus may be present, or there might be sometimes super added infection from the pyogenic organisms. And again, if the patient presents in active state, he or she will present with constitutional symptoms. And sometimes the collection of the exudate, it goes behind the prevertebral fascia. It protrudes forwards and forms a retropharyngeal abscess, which will cause three symptoms: dyspnea, dysphonia, and dysphagia. Difficulty in breathing, difficulty in swallowing, and voice. Now, the incidence, most commonly it is seen in the lower dorsal region, followed by the lumbar region, followed by the dorsolumbar region. Most commonly in the lower dorsal, followed by lumbar, followed by the dorsolumbar. It is least common in the lumbosacral region. And in around 7% of the cases, there are skip lesions present. Everybody understands what are skip lesions? Lesion followed by some normal vertebrae and then another lesion. Now the lesions may be paradiscal, central, anterior or posterior. Most common are the paradiscal lesions. Why? Because the blood supply of the lower half of the upper vertebrae and the upper half of the lower vertebrae are the same. So all or both of these, including the disc, are affected, giving the formation of a paradiscal region. Paradiscal means around the disc. That means the upper portion and the lower portion. As the blood supply of the lower half of the upper vertebrae and the upper half of the lower vertebrae is the same, that's why we see most commonly the paradiscal lesions. Now, strictly speaking, it starts from the antero-inferior portion of the vertebrae and spreads to the disc. After there is the erosion of the vertebral end plates, it spreads to the disc. Now, the most common was paradiscal. Another one is central. This is due to the spread through the venous system, the intraosseous venous system, but central is not due to spread from the Barton's venous plexus. In this we can see in the later stage there is a complete collapse of the vertebrae, leading to the formation of a plain vertebrae which is known as vertebra plana. It is followed by anterior lesions. This anterior lesions, they start beneath the anterior longitudinal ligament and involves the anterior margin of the body. They spread up and down the anterior longitudinal ligament, and the appearance radiologically is like the aneurysm of aorta, and sometimes this is called aneurysmal phenomenon. Now the last one is after paradiscal, central, anterior, the last one is posterior, which is very rare. Now if port spine is neglected, it will lead to Pott's paraplegia. This may be due to the collapse of body, herniation of the caseous material. The compression will cause paraparesis. Now it is due to the compression of the cord. The cause may be, and it may have various causes. The cause may be inflammatory. Inflammatory because the inflammatory edema or the granulation tissue or the pus might cause compression on the cord, leading to paraparesis. The cause may be mechanical, as the tubercular debris or the sequestra or the gibbus or any pathological dislocation of the vertebra might cause the compression of the cord. The cause may be vascular, as there may be a reactionary thrombosis of the spinal vessels, leading to paraparesis. The cause may also be degenerative, as we can see, we may also see myelitis or the inflammation of the cord or severe stretching of the cord due to the deformity. So the paraparesis symptoms are from the cord compression. Cord compression may be inflammatory, mechanical, vascular or degenerative. Inflammatory due to the inflammatory edema or due to granulation tissue or pus. Mechanical due to sequestra formation, tubercular debris, internal gibbus or pathological dislocation of the vertebrae. Vascular due to reactionary thrombosis of the spinal vessels, and degenerative as the cord is severely stretched or there is myelitis. Now the paraplegia is most common in upper thoracic spine lesions. Why? Because the canal space here is very narrow. Neurological involvement, the first symptoms are always motor followed by sensory. Why? Because the motor tracts are anterior, which are compressed, leading, and the first sign we'll see is the ankle clonus, followed by plantar extensor, which then leads to follows to mild spastic weakness, and in the end there is severe weakness and the patient is bedridden. The sensations affected first are the pain, crude touch and temperature. These are the sensations of the lateral spinothalamic tract. Again, pain, crude touch and temperature are affected first. which are sent by the lateral spinothalamic tract, which is followed by the dorsal column, which are posterior, which are the vibration and the proprioception. And in the paralysis of the anal sphincter and the bladder are affected last. And in extremely severe cases, there is spasticity first, and if the disease is extremely severe, the spasticity turns into flaccidity. So there are 4 stages of the POTS paraplegia. In the first stage, the patient is unaware of the neurological symptoms, and the physician or the surgeon detects it by the extensor plantar response, or clonus may or may not be present. So the patient is unaware, detected by the treating doctor by the extensor plantar response or the presence of clonus. In the second stage, the patient is aware that he or she has the neurological symptoms, and patient complains of incoordination while walking, but is able to walk either with or without support. In the third stage, the patient is non-ambulatory or bedridden. There is paraplegia in extension. There is sensory loss of less than 50%. And in the fourth stage, there is paraplegia in flexion. The sensory loss is more than 50%, and bowel and bladder are involved. So everybody is clear regarding the 4 stages. Now, Griffith has classified the paraplegia into early and late onset. The early onset is when the active stage of disease is present, that is within 2 years of the onset of symptoms, and it may be due to the inflammatory edema or the granulation tissue or the abscess. The late onset is after 2 years, and it may be due to the mechanical pressure on the cord, or due to the reactivation of the disease. The mechanical pressure might cause canal stenosis. Now, grading of kyphosis is done with the help of the K angle. How do you calculate the K angle? So, imagine a kyphotic deformity. We make a line along the upper margin of the normal vertebrae above. We make a line below the lower margin of the along the lower margin of the normal vertebrae below. So deformity के सब ऊपर वाला जो normal है उसके ऊपर से line, नीचे वाला जो normal है उसके नीचे से line, and the angle they make is known as K angle. Okay, and according to the K angle, it is classified into 5 stages. First is the pre-destructive stage, in which there is straightening of the spine and there is no kyphus. The second is the early destructive stage, in which there is reduced disc space and the K angle is less than 10 degrees. The third is the mild kyphus, in which there is collapse of 2 to 3 vertebrae and the angle lies between 10 to 30 degrees. Fourth is the moderate kyphus, in which more than 3 vertebrae collapse is seen and the angle is 30 to 60 degrees. And the last of stage 5 is the severe kyphus stage, in which there is more than 3 vertebrae collapse and the angle is more than 60 degrees. Everybody is clear? Any questions? So the treatment is another long topic which will be covered later. It will